I can still hear the sound of my wife's last voicemail, her voice breaking halfway through, panic, glass shattering, children screaming, then nothing. That silence never left. It became the background noise of my life. When I told my parents what happened, I expected something. Grief, anger, even a pause filled with pain. But my father only sighed. "Today's your brother's birthday," he said. "We can't come." And my mother added gently, "Please don't ruin the day." Something inside me fractured then, not loudly, not violently, just cleanly, like glass under steady pressure. They'd always had a favorite, Daniel, the golden child. Loud, magnetic, always the center of attention. And me, I was the quiet one, the fixer, the one who stayed late, remembered birthdays, kept things running. Even at my own wedding, I saw my father slip Daniel some cash, making sure his precious firstborn didn't feel left out. When my wife's car was hit by a drunk truck driver, they treated it like a scheduling conflict, an inconvenience. I buried my family alone, stood in the rain as 3 coffins sank into the earth, no familiar face beside me. That was the day I stopped being their son. Grief changes tempo. First it freezes you, then it hones you. I started moving differently, slower, sharper, deliberate. Every word I spoke afterward carried weight. My father ran a real estate firm. Daniel was a charm, the PR front. I knew their secrets, the shadow accounts, the fake charities, the hidden property deals. I had built many of those systems myself, once believing it was all part of family legacy. Now, I saw it for what it was, leverage. I began small. Anonymous emails, tips to auditors, a whistleblower note to the tax office, written in Daniel style, from his personal account. I knew his vocabulary too well. Synergy, pipeline, alignment. Then I waited. 3 months later, whispers surfaced, rumors of tax discrepancies at Raymond and Sons Realty. My father smiled through for the cameras, but behind closed doors he exploded. I knew because I still had admin access to the office security feeds. Daniel started drinking heavier. My father stopped trusting him. Cracks appeared, slow, quiet, satisfying. 6 months later, I dropped the final blow. A full report, proof of embezzlement, shell companies, forged charity files. Every dollar trail pointed to Daniel. I made sure of it. This time I didn't hide. I signed it. Michael Raymond, former CFO, surviving father. The next morning, every major paper ran the headline. Whistleblower exposes Raymond and Sons in multi-million-dollar fraud. My phone erupted. Daniel first, then my mother, then my father. I ignored them all. They weren't calling for me. They were calling for damage control. That night, I visited them. The mansion looked smaller. Father sat frozen before the TV, the news replaying as police raided their offices. Daniel stood by the bar, trembling glass in hand. No one spoke when I entered. I placed a folded newspaper on the table. "I thought you should read it," I said. Father's voice wavered for the first time in years. "What have you done?" I looked at the man who raised me on rules, not affection. The same man who skipped my family's funeral for cake and candles. "I did exactly what you taught me," I said. "Priorities." His jaw clenched. "You destroyed the family." "No," I whispered. "I buried the family months ago. You just didn't show up." The investigations dragged on for weeks. Daniel was arrested for fraud and laundering. My father's name rotted in public, though he'd been careful enough to avoid charges. Their empire, built on favoritism and lies, collapsed from within. I left quietly, moved to another city, changed my name. I teach financial ethics now, of all things. My students call me Mr. Ellis. They have no idea who I was. Sometimes, late at night, I still play that last voicemail, my wife's voice, fading into chaos. I used to think revenge would silence it. It didn't, but it made sure no one would ever ignore it again. A week after the trial ended, the final headline hit. Daniel Raymond sentenced to 8 years in prison. Family empire in ruins. That was the headline that finally broke them, the one they never saw coming. I didn't smile when I read it. I just folded the paper, sat beside an old family photo, and whispered, "Now we're even."